Today we have a Toro timemaster, and of course we have the PTO cable to replace, because the cable this time, the actual cable has rusted into, I guess. Yep, it has broke off, and typically the plastic breaks. And this is actually a factory piece. It has the skinnier tube, and it has the rib that comes up about halfway on the back side. Let's see if we can get you in there to see that. See the rib, how it only goes up about part of the way instead of all the way up. And we also have the drive cable to also replace. As you can see, it has broken right there, and the cable's gone from it. And I have both of those cables here today. This is the drive cable, and we'll go ahead and get that replaced. I'll show you again how that gets done. And today we're going to install one of the heavy duty, what I'm going to call the heavy duty, which is reinforced by the metal. I've talked to you guys about these before. And we will get one of these installed, and I'll show you what needs to be done to get that installed, because they are not a direct replacement. You have to do a little bit of modifications up in this area in order to get it to fit in place, which is not a big deal to do. So what I think I'll do first is the drive cable. We'll get that one done and out of the way, and then we'll move on to the PTO cable. So first, we'll grab a couple tools, because we need to take the belt guard off. It is helpful if you have an extension, or when you try to get the bolts out on this side. There we go, we got the belt cover off. Well, we got the belt cover off, we'll give that a little blow down, get that debris out of there. Alright, we're also going to need a 3/8 wrench right there. Release that bolt so we can get the cable out of there on this end. You don't need to take it all the way off, just loosen it up so that the cable can slide in and out of there. And then we're going to flip her over on its side. Easiest way to get to the bottom. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see it. But right back in there is your spring and cable that you got to get off. There we go. Once you get that off of there, you slide your cable out. Alright, now while we got it on its side, we're going to take and bend our metal tab out of the way. And then when you get a pair of pliers, pull that spring off. I usually like to use my locking pliers. We'll grab a hold of that. We'll pop that off of there. Go ahead and take it out and just set off to the side. And then once we've done that, we are able to tilt this forward. Once you tilt it forward, it'll slack up the belt for the drive transmission. And once you've done that, you're going to have to come up here and release the cable from the top side. And you'll need a 7/16 for that. My mic is working okay for you guys. This will be the second time I've used it. I'm just going to flip this back over real quick. Give me a little better access to what I need to do. Bring you guys around here to the side here. Okay. And I need to loosen that up. I'm actually going to have to take that nut completely off. So I'm not going to worry about doing that right this minute, because I'm going to have to put it back on its side again. And I really don't want to lose anything when I do that. So just for the time being, we'll just loosen it up and pull the cable through. And if it still had the end of the cable on it, then yes, you would have to go ahead and take that nut completely off. But in this case, we don't have to. Come on. There we go. Get a little cotter pin out of there. And from the factory, they don't come with cotter pins. They come with a little cap that just presses on there. They're a pain in the butt to get off. But once I get them off, I leave them off, because this cable has to be replaced so much. So I just leave it off. I drill a small hole in that, and I just run a cotter pin through that. So that's what I do. While we are right here, we're going to go ahead and release the cable for the PTO on the handlebar side, and get that out of the way. Likes to cut the little cable tie that's on here. Cut one there, cut another one down here by the motor. And if you don't put that one on down here by the motor, what will end up happening if somebody wants to use this handlebar, you're able to do that with these. You're able to lift your handlebar straight up. And what happens every time, if you don't put these cables and tie them out of the way, it gets hung up in there, and the handlebar literally bites it and shears it off. So you have to tie that up out of the way. I learned the hard way. So now I've got the drive cable released. I can start pulling my PTO cable through, and pulling it through allows me to get the slack that I need to remove it from here. And basically it's keyed. So you have this piece here, which slides in straight in like that, and you have this piece here. So in order to get it in, you have to lift it straight up like this, slide this piece into the hole, and then you rotate it down so that this little tab slides down into the slot. There's a little groove there. Bring it around on this side. You see it a lot better. All right. So again, if you're going to take it out, you have to lift it straight up and then pull it to the side. And if you can see there, you have a hole and then you have a slot. All you have to do to put it back in is you put this piece here in the hole, and that piece goes to the slot. So straight up, like so, slide it in, rotate it down. Then you just have to pop it in. Usually there's a loop here from the manufacturer, and there's a little gap there in that loop, and you just have to pop this into that gap. This one's broke off, so I always use a wire tie to hold this piece into place so it's not moving in and out like so. I'm going to take and rotate this back up on its side again. Well, hold on a second. There's one screw back here that we need to release. Right back in there. Just give it a few turns. And giving it a few turns like that. Well, come on now. We'll allow this to lift up enough to get that cable out of there. I'm not going to lift up on it, rotate it to the side, and then my cable just comes right out. And that is how I got the PTO cable out of there. And now we're going to flip this back over on its side so we can get to the drive cable and finish getting that out of the way, or out. And it's not too hard to do. Keep in mind, I know we're doing two cables at once. It might get a little confusing on which cable we're working on, but I'm trying to let you know which is which. So now we're going to work on the drive cable that drives your rear wheels for you. And we've already pushed this out of the way. We've already pulled the spring off. And we've already tilted this down enough to get the belt off. So now we went and we released the other end of the cable from the handlebar. And all we have to do now is take and rotate this transmission down. Like so. And pull the cable through. Like so. And then we're going to need a screwdriver. preferably a flathead. It's got this style end on it, and you have to take these two little ears and you have to compress them. And the best way to compress them is with a screwdriver. And you want to rotate this in such a way that those ears that you need to compress, the ones at the bottom and ones at the top here, and I will give you some leverage on the bottom and top to take your screwdriver and compress that. So we'll slide it into the bottom. I'm going to kind of pry down there. So you see I've already pulled it out a little bit on the bottom side. Do the same thing with the top. Come on out of there. There we go. It just pops right out of there. Now we got to get back there to that spring and just unhook it from that position back there. There we go. We got her out of there. Now we're going to take our new one. We're going to reattach it to the transmission, the spring. It's very difficult to try to see back here, so you'll see where it came off at. You just have to put it back in the same spot. There's just a little hole back there. You have to get that spring in there. Not much room in here. There we go. And then you just take and slide your right into the hole there. Make sure it's in there good. You'll take and feed the other end. I don't know if you guys can see it. Alright. You see that hole right there? I'm going to take and shove the other end of your cable up through that hole. And then reach around and grab it with your other hand. And finish pulling it through. Back you up a little bit. Alright, now as it's starting to pull through, you want to rotate that transmission into place all at the same time also. And there you go. The cable's pulled through. And we just make sure that our belt is in position on the motor. And then we put it back on the transmission. Well, come on now, don't be an ass. There we go. There's one end, the other end came back off again. There we go. Then we grab our spring that we took off earlier. Hopefully I'm not getting your way too much. And we reach back up under there and reattach it to the bottom of the deck where it came from. You stretch it back out the other end and drop it in the hole that's on the transmission. Take your pliers, bend your little bracket back into place. You're good to go. That's how you attach the bottom of your drive cable to the transmission. while we got it here like this, we're going to grab the other cable, or PTO cable here, and we're going to get it into position. Now basically what you're going to have to do here is you're going to have to start off on the top side of your mower here. Let's see if we can get you around here like this. Maybe, maybe not. Well, daggone, just kick you right over, why don't I? Alright. Sorry about that, guys. So, basically we need to be on this side of we're going to take this spring and we're going to feed it through this cavity here. We're going to reach through the back side on the underside of it. We were just at a few minutes ago. And we're going to reattach that spring to this little swing arm assembly. And it's kind of hard to show you where that comes from because it's kind of tucked up out of the way. But it took me a minute the first time I had to do it. And but I found it. And I just felt around up there because it's hard to see it there. And I could feel what I needed to do. So we should be done on the bottom side now. We can set our mower down. So we have our PTO cable staged and ready to go. Come out through here. The other end with the spring on it is set into place. And we're just going to leave it loose down here for right now. And then we have our drive cable. It's all through and staged and ready to go. And we're going to work on putting that back into place first. Basically, we're going to take this cable and we are going to right now, the cable kind of needs to go between these wires. Come up through the middle of those wires there, be the best position for it. Like so. And then you're going to make sure that it's in your little cable holder here, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you pop it into there. Just kind of put that back into place right now. So I ran it through here. And now I'm all staged up. And basically what I need to do is that cable gets attached under the handlebars to this piece here. And this is one of the pieces that I've made because the original broke. So I had to make that. I think I'll leave you like down here like this. Like so, I think. Hopefully you can see everything that needs to be seen here. Might be too close. Back up here a little bit. Alright, that's good. Alright. So, we're at the finish loosening up this nut. And the reason why we got to do that is so that we can push the cable all the way through. We can't push the cable all the way through it when the bolt is in it. It'll just sit on top of the bolt. Once we got the cable through, then you can slide the metal sheath through it. And then you can make your adjustments to it a little bit later. We just want to snug this right now. We don't want to tighten it yet. And then pull all the slack out of it. And then we're going to take the end of this cable here, and we're going to stick it through that hole that I showed you a minute ago. And we're just going to let it sit there like that for a second. And we're just going to snug things up so they stay in place. You're going to let that sit because we have adjustments to do on that. So now on the PTO cable, we are going to take and run that through the system. So basically we have to take that cable and run that around the back, and then underneath that one bracket that we loosened up on the back side of the motor, you want to shove that down in there, in that little gap there. So we just shoved it through that little gap. We set that piece of metal back on it, and now we're going to tighten it back up. You don't have to kill it. It's just plastic. It doesn't take much to just snug it down a little bit. Now, we're going to pull all the slack we can through, and then we're going to take a look at what we have to do here. To get this to work properly. Huh. Well, for some reason, this one fits perfectly fine. There's no interference. So I wonder if that first one I ever put on was maybe not quite in the right spot when it was crimped into place. So this one's, yeah, they're not exactly crimped in the same spot. Like this one's up a little hair further than the other one that I just put on. So in this case, guys, we don't need to do anything. It's going to fit into place and be just fine. Yeah, the first one I did, I had to actually make clearance on the handlebar here. And this one, I do not. So, I don't know. I'm not sure why that first one I did was in the way. But we're good on this one. So, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves a new cotter key. Alright, so we can go ahead and run our cable through the little holder here. That'll be good to go. We can go through and do our initial adjustments on the PTO. So we're going to have to reach up under here and well, there you go. The cable slid out. So we'll have to loosen this up, bracket up a little bit more so I can get the sheath of it in. Because it came out while we were moving things around. Alright, so what I like to do is adjust that cable in such a way that the cable will come back to the little hole that's up in here, up in the bale. That's way too loose. And it also depends on the belt too. Your belt stretches over time, so if you've got an older belt on here, adjusting it in the same spot as the new one may not work good enough. So you have to adjust it differently, accordingly. But basically all I'm doing is sliding this sheath up and down. I'll loosen it up a little bit. And I'll slide this. If you want it tighter, you slide the sheath that way. If you want it looser, you slide it the other way. And I need it to be a little bit tighter, so I slid it back. If you loosen it up just enough that it can slide, when you do slide it, you'll feel little clicks. And just give it a few clicks. I just gave it 4 clicks right there. And I'll come up here and I'll take it. So that looks like it's pretty close. You need to stay there. I need to stay there. And I need to get me a tie strap. In order for me to finish up my adjustments, I need to go ahead and tie this stuff off. So, sorry about moving you around again. But basically, you need to tie these cables off so they don't get bitten by the handlebar assembly. If you don't do this, your handlebar assembly will get pretty damn hungry and start chewing them cables up like a mean old gremlin. You just snug them up down there just like that, so everything clears here. It needs to be below this point. And it's hard to see, but I just kind of wrap it under. Yeah, it's hard for you to see. I ran that tie cable down underneath this tab here. That tab right there. I go under that tab, and then I come around the side here. And then that should be good to go. And I just wrap around the key assembly. And I snug it up nice and tight. One thing that helps out too is if you pinch it a little bit underneath the underneath this piece here a little bit. Actually, it's the piece on the inside. That seems to help keep it in place where it needs to be. And then I can go ahead and I snug it back down. Just give it a nice pull. And that's just so you don't have to go buy another one of these. And you can if you want, but it's a good enough trick there, good enough idea there to compensate for that broken loop right there. Just because that loop broke doesn't mean you got to replace the whole thing, right? There's a time to buy the whole thing, and there's a time where you can do something like that for a while until another part of this goes bad, like the key assembly itself, or maybe the rest of the housing breaks off, or maybe this side of the housing where the bolt head goes through, maybe that breaks off. If you just replace everything for the littlest tiny thing, you'll have a fortune spent over time. All right. So now we can test that again. Basically, right about there, you'll see the swing arm pulley and brake start moving around. Basically, I'm trying to get that tension just right so that it puts the proper amount of tension on the belt. That's not too bad. I think I'll give it just a little bit more. So we'll come back up under here. We'll loosen that up a couple turns. And we'll give it 1, 2 more little clicks. And I think we'll leave it at that. That feels all right. We'll go for that. Go with that for right now. Now we have to finish adjusting our drive and make sure that's in its position we need it to be in. And the best way to do that is to set it and start up the mower and activate the handle and see if the PTO actually kicks in or not. If it doesn't, then we need to tighten it up a little bit more. So let's fire this thing up and see what happens. All right, I think we need to go a little bit tighter on the drive cable. So we'll do the same thing like we do on the other cable, and we'll just loosen it up a little bit. Throw our tool on the ground. And we'll slide our cable sheath through a few clicks, and we'll go from there. We'll try it again. All right, that's how you install and adjust your PTO cable and your drive cable. Hopefully this is content that'll help you. If so, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, send me some comments, let me know what you think. Be kind and help people when you can.